Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. We are waking the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time.
Did you guys know that a daily poetry habit can improve your immune system by reducing stress-related inflammation? Yeah, like what? Poetry, you guys. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we're helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing poet authors of one of our newest books. And this is 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing, Volume 2. And I can't even tell you how excited I am that volume 2 is out 1 year after our first volume. This is a gorgeous, healing, amazing book, and you get to meet some of the author poets in this book today. So let me get ready to introduce these poets to you. Melanie Barnes, how are you doing today? Let me bring you up to the stage.
I am excellent. How are you today?
A day that I get to talk about poetry is a good day.
I agree.
I love it. You guys, Melanie Barnes is an actor, poet, author, comedian, and storyteller who aims to bring humor and depth to every character created and every poem written. Melanie, why poetry for you?
Wow, what a wonderful question. Why poetry? I've had to ask myself that because, as you said earlier, I'm an actor. I'm an actor, a writer, a comedian, and so when poetry happened upon my doorstep, it was incredible. It literally started from me writing my story, and within my story, I started seeing poetry. And that helped me be able to, I guess, bring more life to the story, bring more depth. And I found a new way to express myself. I've always wanted to be on stage, right? Ever since I was 5, I've been on stage. So poetry allows me to give back in a way that still brings me to the stage, but allows me to give back in a way that I feel like is a little bit more healing involved. So I like to be able to bring all of those things into one. So whether it's laughter, whether it's some tears, whether it's just anything along the healing journey, and poetry has allowed me to do that. It's given me a different voice, I guess you could say.
I love listening to you about pieces of the stage, particularly. You all are about to hear it, though, so get ready for some goosebumps. These women and men that I have met who are performers on top of being poets, who can stand on a stage and make you feel something. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in heaven. And Melanie is about to grace us with one of her poems. So, Melanie, feel free to introduce the poem and would you read for us?
Certainly. Thank you so much. So the poem that I'm going to read is called Decision. And it came from just that, needing to make a tough decision, I guess you could say. Because every day we're making decisions, right? From the time we get up in the morning to the time we close our eyes, we're making decisions. So this poem was about making a tough decision, the tough decision to move on with my life, regardless of what others thought or felt or influenced me. My influence started to come from within, I guess you could say. And so that's sort of where this poem or what this poem stems from, the need to make a decision. And it's called Decision. I had to make a decision. I had to face the thing that threatened to kill me, that which tried to hijack my identity. So I am no longer waiting for someone to tell me who I am. And I am no longer seeking your approval. See, I'm no longer waiting to be validated by you. And I thank God that I no longer care if it's me. You're not choosing. But what I am doing is defining myself, embracing my identity, and living confidently and comfortably in my own truth. But first, I had to make a decision. I had to face the thing that threatened to kill me, that which tried to hijack my identity, fought against my authenticity, and made me my worst enemy while I questioned my life's validity. I had to make a decision. Now you'll have to buy the book in order to get the rest of that poem, okay? And
No,
I promise
more,
you,
more.
it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh, thank you. I'll give you some snaps and claps for that. Decision. Yeah. Your life's validity. I think I got that line right.
Yes,
Yeah. I love
questioning
it.
that.
Melanie, thank you. Thank you for saying yes to this project and for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share anytime. And this has definitely given me a new outlook. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, you guys, let me bring Lynn up to the stage. Lynn, how's it going today? I'll get you to unmute. And while she's doing that, let me tell you about Lynn Veneziano Fry, CEO of Lightness of Spirit, transformational coaching, retreat coordinator with mindful movement lifestyle, helping women balance their health in mind, body, and spirit. So Lynn, oh, there she is. Good deal. You're like, I can't see it.
And it's almost worse with my glasses when the light's coming in. So
I know how
you.
that goes. I have them here and I am in such denial that I hardly ever put them on. But yes, that's how that's going.
Exactly.
Lynn, tell me why poetry for you?
Why poetry? When you said that question, it was like, why poetry? But I guess I can go back to, and I think this chapter and the poems kind of relate to how the magic of words and reading, and it goes back to learning how to write and learning how to read. I remember distinctly, it's like that absorbed so much into my body. It was such an important part of me to be able to express. And I think with that, then learning poetry in school, we had to memorize, and I just loved the magic and the music that poetry made. And I wanted to do that. It's like, I want to do that. I want to be able to speak in that way that people are so free and they bring out their soul, and others to read it. And there's a little more grace than reading a book, because poetry is so flexible and it can be whatever you want it to be. And I love that, because then everybody can be a poet. And I think that's what I love about, being, poetry, was that I could feel like, oh my gosh, I can write this and it's a poem and other people want to listen. And then I did write a poem, and a friend surprised me by having me speak at a poetry reading. And I had no clue, and I'm up there. And then everybody, when they're mesmerized, like being on stage, you're like, oh my gosh, people are paying attention to me. Maybe I need to do more of this. So that kind of spurred me on even more.
I love hearing that story. It's exciting. Oh my gosh. And I so resonate with the rhythm, the song, the vibes in poems. It's one of my favorite things. Lynn, you have a poem to share with us. Will you take a minute to introduce it and read for us?
Well, the chapter and the poems in this are basically that, because I was so excited to be, accepted into this and be able to be part of it, and just really grateful. And so this is about writing, about how that is, and the poem is called My Escape. I escape in the various movies I watch, I escape while walking in sand or reading a classic book. I escape while window shopping or sipping a cup of tea in a nook. I escape in excuses, in trying tales of woe. I escape in my writing and when dancing on my toes. I escape in the mountains, on steep, rugged trails. I escape in rivers and in boats with sails. I escape in the clouds, so puffy and high. I escape in a rainbow where the gold is nigh. I escape into freedom, a freedom that envelops my mind, lifting me to places of beauty and awe where I can relax and slowly unwind. All the imaginative glory, these places in my mind end as if a tether pulls me back to the harshness of reality and a world that is unkind. I look around for another escape. I am seduced by my paper and pen. As words magically appear on the page, I am free again.
Beautiful. Thank you. Some snaps for your poem. I love your nature connection. I was on the rugged trail with you for sure. I was walking there. It's beautiful. Lynn, thank you. Thanks for saying yes to this project and for being here today. So
You're
you
welcome.
guys, a huge thank you really to all four of you for a minute for being here and doing this with me, but for taking on the challenge of writing your story. This book, you guys, is more than just poems. It's more than a book. There is a beautiful story from each poet that helps you get to know them a little bit, and then you're going to enjoy their poetry. And then after that, I asked everybody to write a prompt for you all, for the readers. So they're going to get you in that book, hopefully trying out your hand at a few lines. And we want you to scribble on the rest of that page, right? We left you some space in that book to do your own writing. And I'm in love with this book for so many reasons, and the beautiful ways you all inspired people with your prompts. Your poems are all just outstanding. So thank you all so much. So I'm going to bring Thais onto the stage next. Let me get her sorted out. How are you doing, my dear? I'm going to get you to unmute too. And let me tell you
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
I am glad that you are here with us. Thais Conte, you guys, she's an expert in organizing all types of events in different countries and is the owner of the Event Architect and one of the idealizers of the Movement Women Talk Network. So, Thais, tell us why poetry? What has it meant for you in your life?
Poetry is like a therapy. It's like when I put into words what I want the world to know about myself. It's when I share my feelings, I share my soul, I share my happiness and even my sorrows. Poetry, can make you happy, can make you cry. Poetry makes us identify ourselves, and also we identify with others through poetry. And poetry has a lot of movements, so we can be anyone. We can write about anything, as long as it's true to ourselves.
I love that. Thank you for sharing about that for you. I love hearing all of your connection to it. It's all a little bit different, and also it's the same, and it's I don't know. I love it. You have a poem to share for us as well. So would you take a minute to introduce it and read for us?
Sure. I wrote 4 poems and about a Japanese proverb that says that we have 3 faces: but I do believe we have four. So I'm going to share with you the first one, that is the first face, the face we show to the world. Okay? The little girl inside of me, on tiptoe, unseen and unheard, she moved through the lives of everyone she knows. Even when her tears fall like a tropical storm, no thunder rumbles in her voice, no lightning strikes in her movements. Instead, a fever rages where lightning should, and a sore throat whispers in place of thunder. They think she's kind, but fragile, a little girl clutching her mother's skirt, hiding within her father's shadow, a people pleaser who so often forgets herself. This is the first part of the poem. You can read the rest of it when you buy the book. And it's the first about the first phase, and I have three more, and the fourth one you're gonna know if you buy the book, because the fourth one is the one that means something to me, that I created for myself.
Thank you for sharing the first face with us. I love that. And I love that teaser too, because y'all need to read the second, third, and fourth faces, right? Like it's
Yes.
gonna go together.
Especially the fourth, that no one's know what it is.
Nobody knows the
Has
fourth
a clue.
face.
Yes, no one.
Yes. Thais, thank you. Thank you so much for saying yes to this project, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you.
All right, that means we have Yantra G up next, and I'm going to bring her up onto the stage. Yantra, how are you doing today?
Good, darling. Thank you for having me on today.
You are welcome. You are coming to us from pretty far away today, all the way over in Australia.
Australia, yes.
Today has been an Australia day for me. I've been online with a couple of authors. It seems like a small miracle, doesn't it?
That's amazing. Yes.
You guys, Yantra G is a therapist, artist, author, educator, and facilitator of self-inquiry for over 35 years. She offers support through Living Alignment, an in-person and online center for living a truth-filled and aligned life of freedom, love, and joy. So, Yantra, tell us your version of why poetry for you.
Yes, why poetry? I was reflecting when everyone else was answering that question. You know, as a young child, I loved silence. I think it was Lynn in her poem, she mentioned about looking at the clouds. And it's one of the things that I loved, looking up at the clouds. And there's this space, this pause. And poetry for me, it reduces all of the superfluous words. So when we speak to each other, we use a lot of words. When we write, we use a lot of words. And there's a way that we can speak to each other without words at all. And poetry is in the middle. Poetry creates this space, this opening, and brings us back to silence. So really, it gives us the essential, and then we notice it's not even the words themselves, but it's the pause that points us back home.
I could feel that answer. Peace in that answer in my body. I love to be in my body when I listen to y'all talk. Yantra, you have a poem to share with us. I cannot wait to hear it. Would you introduce it and read for us?
I will, yes. So this poem is called Sit Quietly, Beloved. Sit quietly, beloved, and notice. Sit quietly, beloved. Notice where your mind goes. As you are quiet, notice the mind is not. as it moves here and there towards enjoyment or suffering, following experiences of past and fantasies of future. Sit quietly, beloved. Notice where your mind moves and bring it back here. Attention here, awareness here, resting here in this present moment. There is nothing to control or repress, no movement, no following, no suffering. Sit quietly, beloved. Notice this moment. There is no inner dialogue, no internal conversation. The mind silent, the heart and life at peace, stillness, silence, open, aware, presence and love. Sit quietly, beloved, and notice.
That was juicy. Thank you. I'm going to give you some snaps. Was everyone breathing like a little half a heart rate notch down there? Yeah, I think that was lovely meditation, Yantra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes to the project. Thanks for being here today. And again, thank you to all of you. I have a question now to ask all of you, but I realized in the first couple of interviews that we've been doing that I was forgetting to include me. So I'm going to read you one of the poems from the book, and this one is called Awakening. This fear isn't mine. I looked 7 generations behind. The light bulb blinded me. Confusion disappeared. The very straight line pointed to me. Fear was stuck, thick, crusted, and glued to my heart. I pried away pieces for years, pulling off huge chunks of flesh to save myself from the pain. I discovered octopus powers. Something brand new grew whenever the sharks dismembered me. All I needed was time to heal, awareness to feel, wisdom to recognize the deal I made with God. And I knew I'll be the one to alchemize the fear into fuel. I'll be the one to clear the line. I'll be the one who alters time. I floated and breathed. I noticed crow's wings illuminated gold on sunrise beams. I stared into a circle of rainbow spears shimmering in the sky. I touched my third eye. I remembered to listen closely. It's time to be brave. So that is one of the poems of mine that you will find in this beautiful book. Thank you for the snaps and claps, ladies. Thais, what is the most important thing you want our listeners to know about poetry? Oh, let me unmute you, Thais.
Okay,
There
yes,
we go.
yes, I did it. Anyone can do it. No, life is poetry itself, so anyone can do poetry if you want it, and it's good. It's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna make not only you, but it's gonna make others feel good. You can heal yourself, and you can heal other people too with your poetry.
Thank you for starting that question like that. For those of you who, I know y'all have heard this answer from friends, from people. I'm not really into poetry, or I can't do that. Like, I've never really tried. I'm not really into it. And I'm like, oh, you haven't tried it yet. Like, you need to just dabble a little bit of your big toe in there. Just dunk it in just a little bit. Because like Thais said, life is poetry. That is so true for me. All right, Melanie, what's the most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
Wow. I mean, I believe she said it all. Thais said it. But I guess to piggyback off what she said is that it is incredibly healing. It is incredibly telling. You know, when we express ourselves through these words, what we get from that expression, I don't think is in any of the other genres of creativity have I found other than in writing poetry. And you're right. I believe anybody can do it. And I've definitely heard people say, "Oh, I can't, I can't, I can't." But everybody has a voice and everybody has feelings and everybody needs to express. So if we take the time to create with poetry, we will be able to find those words. We'll be able to find that expression. We'll be able to find that life that we're looking for. So
Thank you,
poetry is
Melanie.
life. I agree.
We poets see it all around us, don't we? And one of the other gals on the interview before you guys was talking about a flower and just looking at a flower, one of the small miracles of life, and flowers are all around. And she's like, just take something and write about what you love and you will be creating a poem. And I agreed with that too. So, Yantra, tell us your version. What else do you want people to know about poetry?
In answer to that, I'd share the little haiku at the start of my chapter first. Words of truth scattered like breadcrumbs in the forest show the pathway home.
Mm.
And also from my prompt, no matter where you are, what you're doing, you can pause, you can take a micro moment and notice what's here. You can stop and rest and breathe. And as you hold the pen in your hand, whether your eyes are closed or eyes are open, you can allow these words to flow out onto the page. You don't need to know what they are. You don't need to know how they're going to join. You don't need to know whether they make sense. There's a flow from our heart, from silence, from grace. And anyone and everyone has this. It's actually who you are.
Mm.
I am so glad you mentioned haiku, because when some people read long, long poems, and some y'all have had like experiences in school, and I think for me it was like, oh, I had a big turn off early on in my life about poetry and how it had to be analyzed and all the things. You get a little haiku. I got so addicted to writing haiku, to trying that art form. And I love that you said that. 3 little lines could change your life.
Yeah.
Okay, Lynn, the question comes to you to kind of close us out today. What's that thing you want people to know about poetry?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of times people have a certain idea of what poetry is. And I think by reading this book, they'll realize that there is a lot of variations and it's just beautiful. And even my poem that I read was one that, was kind of like standard when you're learning to write. But I wanted to include that because it's one of the basic ones with the rhymes. But if you realize that poetry is so many different ways, and it's just what you and how you express yourself. And it can be anything. And that's why I love this book, because it's such a variety of poems for people to experience and to read and to heal from. And they can do that themselves. And I think if they learn that and just realize that you can just sit down and write, you can take a word and just let that word take you somewhere. And that's what I think is the beauty of poetry, is that you can take it anywhere. And I agree too that I love to sit down with a pen. And when I'm writing, sometimes it's like I'm just watching my hand just move across that page. And it's like, where is this coming from? And that's the beauty of it. It's freeing. it's enchanting, it's fantasies, it's exciting and healing.
Love it. I love it. So my last thank you to all of you and to our listeners. This is so much more than a book. This is a generous community of badasses. They are poets, they are healers, they are all kinds of amazing people. And to bring them in a collection, all of these author poets has just really been amazing. And Lynn's right. The variety of experiences you're going to have in this book is actually quite astounding. Go grab your copy today, you guys. Purchases of 100 poems will help me help Miss Kyanne Thomas, who is the founder of the Inkwell. And the Inkwell serves by bringing therapeutic writing programs to youth in the DC area. And I've been on the board for a while with Miss Kyanne. And so I wanted you guys to know when you purchase the book that helps me write a check to the Inkwell. And I love supporting that organization. So thank you for hopping over to Amazon today to grab your copy. Authors, author poets, thank you all so much for what you do in the world and for being here to share it with everyone. You guys, I have everybody hooked up down below with their links. They're ready to have you reach out and ask a question, carry on the conversation from today, come and read more of their poetry. They are there for you. So go explore their socials, explore their websites, and see what these authors are up to in the world. And we happen to be chatting today on the afternoon of the book launch party. So if you're listening to this in time, you can come join us for that. It's going to be tonight, January 9th at 6 p.m. And I've got information with the Zoom down below. Lastly, today, everyone, just remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.